Well, let's try that again. Welcome to the DawgLand podcast. I am your host, Anthony Joki. Alongside me, Jackson McCurry. As always, Jack, how we doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's been a good Tuesday. Obviously, we got a lot to discuss. It was a chaotic last couple days in terms of the Cleveland Browns, but I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Got out to the golf course today. Was finally able to play a round of golf. It is August 25th, and I can't believe this was the first round that I got to play, but finally made it out there. Didn't play too terribly. Had one great chance at a birdie, missed it unfortunately, but do what you can, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice. It's nice that you got back out there to the links. Yeah, Jake, we're all going through it, and we will definitely discuss that here shortly. But nice to see you in here. My brother commented like a half hour ago saying that he was here first, so good that my brother's in here, hopefully as well. But yeah, it's
Just because he's first does not mean Will Howard.
well, this was my other brother. I have two brothers.
Okay,
I have
that's
Todd and
right.
Mike. Todd hopped in first. I'm sure Mike will be in shortly to let us all know he wants Will Howard. But
What's up, MC? Great to see
MC,
you.
thanks for coming in, brother.
Yep, great to have you here. All right, so as you talked about, there is quite a bit to discuss with the Cleveland Browns, as there always is, and we're here reacting to first off, the main topic is Deshaun Watson being named the starting quarterback by Todd Monken, and Jack, after the press conference on Saturday, on top of the post game conference that he had after the game. We didn't think that they would be able to send him out there as a starter. So now they've decided to go with him as a starter. It's going to be interesting if he's out there week 3 as a starting quarterback. But the backlash that this has gotten over the past couple of days, to the point where I saw today that some fans went down to Cleveland Browns Stadium, posting some signs on Jim Brown's statue about how they're being done with him, didn't want him to be the starting quarterback. It's really taken on even the national media, very surprised as well. So, what are your thoughts about him being named the starting quarterback after what we witnessed this past weekend?
I gotta admit, I was stunned because you talked about it. Like we did the live stream Saturday night after the game. Myself, you, and Jake. I just didn't think it was anywhere possible that the Browns were going to do this. That they were going to subject themselves again to being one of the laughing stocks of the league. I thought, after Watson said what he said, that there was no turning back at that point. But and Todd Monken gave his explanation, and I can understand it, because say that Watson never plays or has that press conference on Saturday, and he's named the starter, I think we all would have expected it. But the way that he ripped the fans and pretty much had like a mental breakdown and let it get to him, like, how can you justify that being the leader of your offense, a leader of your team, being a quote unquote face of the franchise, even though they have tried to minimize that as much as possible? Like, I couldn't believe they did it, but at the same time, it's another moment of the Browns are the Browns. And it was just disappointing to me, because it made no sense from a PR statement or a PR statement, a football statement. Like, you could say what you want about Shador's development and how he's still not all there as a quarterback, but to put Deshaun Watson out there, who just seems mentally broken, as well as physically at times when he throws that football, it just looks like he's physically broken as well. But there's no real, legitimate, justifiable reason that you decided to name him the starting quarterback. And I'm still scratching my head at it. We'll see how it all shakes out here, obviously, in the next few weeks as the regular season gets started. But it was just disappointing to see. The Browns could have really just wiped the slate clean, like we all thought they were going to, almost a year and a half ago, when I marked that draft as the beginning of the post Deshaun Watson era. But here we are again with him being the starting quarterback of the Browns.
Yeah, it seems like it's negligence on the Browns' part. If you are trying to win football games, to put him out there, I feel like I'm very surprised that that's the route that they ultimately decided to go in by naming him the starting quarterback. I'm not sure if you caught his press conference on Monday when he talked about his comments and maybe letting his emotions get the best of him and all that. Like, if you're a starting quarterback, you can't let that get to you. And the way he let it get to him, and the way he teed off on the fan base, it's only going to make it so much worse if he is the starting quarterback in Week 3 at home for the home opener. In that one on Saturday, he talked about playing 17 home games or 17 away games, because that's the mentality that he's going to have to take uh, in order to deal with the crowd and everything. So, look, I don't know how somebody, we heard Monken kind of talk about his mental toughness. I don't know how you could have mental toughness, react the way that you did, and then try to backpedal as much as possible, like he did in his press conference on Monday.
Yeah, it really wasn't even a backpedal. I mean, he didn't apologize to the fans. He did say, like, my emotions got the best of me, but he really didn't, like, he didn't go into a full blown explanation as to why, like, he said what he said, and other than the emotions are getting the best of him. Like, it's just the continuation of, it's all garbage that comes out of Deshaun Watson's mouth. He tried to win the fan base over, and let me just go back to that point on Saturday when he said it's not performance based, it's personal, and going back to like the booing of the Achilles injury. And I've said this the last couple of days to people, and they've agreed with me. If Deshaun Watson was playing like Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson, um, the Browns fans wouldn't have been booing him. Let's make that clear. The first time he stepped out on the field in front of the home crowd, they cheered for him. I think it was the Ravens game when he post the suspension. They cheered for him. They cheered for him when he made big plays in 2023 before he got injured with the shoulder injury. I can remember that stadium was cheering for him when he threw touchdown passes or ran in for touchdowns. It's just that when he started, coming off the shoulder injury and looking like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, that's when the fans started booing him. It is all performance based. Yes, there is fans out there that never gave him a chance, but they gave him a chance. Some gave him a chance. The booing started when he started playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. The cheering, people can say what they want. It was wrong to cheer when he got hurt. I don't know if it, and it wasn't the full stadium. It was only, I'd say, probably 20% of that stadium when it
Yeah,
happened that day.
because I was there when that happened. It was definitely not the full stadium when that took place. I mean, there was certainly a section of people that cheered when it happened, but I also think that they were cheering as well for the backup who was coming in at the time too.
Yeah, because I remember quite clearly there was rumors that Sean was going to get benched if the way he was playing was going to continue, but the injury happened and Jameis got inserted, and the rest is history at that point. I don't buy anything Deshaun says. I like how he tries to say like he's done all this charity work and whatnot, and that's all well and good. But I just think he's at the point now, Anthony, where he's so mentally broken and weak. Like he has a hard time dealing with the fact that he's not this beloved NFL player like he was before all the allegations came out. Because I remember how Deshaun was when he came into the league, like his story about how like work done, uh, you know, I think it was like a Habitat for Humanity thing where he like helped build a house for Deshaun's family when Deshaun was young. And, obviously Deshaun was a legend at Clemson and came to the NFL, had great success, and then everything happened and changed overnight. And he hasn't been able to handle the fact that people don't love him the way that they used to. And it's really gotten to him. And it's just, add in the fact the injuries and performance, the way he's been on the field, it's all just piled up to this point, and it's like he doesn't know how to handle it still all these years later.
No, he doesn't. And I want to touch upon the charity comments because the way that it sounded in his press conference on Saturday, that he only did that to try to, win over the fans. So the only reason you were doing the charity was to improve your image and try to make it better with the fans and not making it about the charity itself. I mean, come on. And he's definitely wrong. I agree with you about the performance space. If he was out there, and we've talked about this many times before, how a player's best attribute is their availability. If he has been out there, been able to be out there without getting hurt the whole time he's been here, and the Browns have won 8, 9, 10 games over the course of his contract here, we would be, with the rookies that we have this year, like we would be saying that we're Super Bowl bound. Like that's where the positivity would be with this franchise. And the point is that it's not, because he has not been available. He has not been out there. When he has been out there, he has not looked good at all. Not even close to resembling the quarterback that he used to be when he was in Houston pre his scandal. So to say it's not performance based is incredibly inaccurate. When if he was winning football games here, it would be a completely different story.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Like he's only played in 19 of 68 games since he's been a Cleveland Brown, and you look. I saw the graphic. I think it was NFL Network where it shows all the rankings of where he stands among quarterbacks, and it's X amount of dropbacks, but he's like in the 40s in terms of those rankings of quarterback stats, like in the 40s. And
And there's only
there's
32
30,
teams.
there's 32. Yeah, exactly. There's 32 teams. I'm curious to see where all the other Browns quarterbacks rank in that time because I'm sure Flacco's there, Gabriel and Sanders, but he's done himself no favors on the field. Off the field, he has not held himself accountable. The one quote that sticks out to me from Saturday was, "I don't regret anything in my life," and I'm just like, he still doesn't get it. And I know he's been denying his allegations since day one. Was it all of them? I can't say, but at least Sue L. Robinson made the claim that there was at least three. I think at least three victims, if I recall. I know it's been so long ago, but it's a disaster for the Cleveland Browns, and they can't justify it other than you can say it's a football decision, and I don't even know if you can do that because at times Shador has looked miles ahead of Deshaun, and it's just been a disaster, and I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but it just doesn't bode well for the Cleveland Browns, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the Shador aspect of this now, because we want to get to Shador and we want to get to Todd Monken and the front office after this. But where does this leave Shador? Because we thought potentially he was probably going to start. I wanted him to start. I know
Me
you
too.
did as well. So like we wanted him to be out there to see what we have this season. I would imagine based on the history of our quarterback situation over the years, he's going to play at some point this year. And even based off the history of Deshaun Watson, he's probably going to get hurt at some point, unfortunately. But where does this leave Shador in the terms of, all right, now you didn't win this quarterback competition, and now you're behind Deshaun Watson, and if Watson struggles early, we would imagine Shador will be ready to go. But where do you think Shador's mindset is at this point? Not winning this competition and now heading into the season being the backup.
Yeah, I mean, Todd Monken said that Shador had a smile on his face when they met Monday morning. You know, Todd Monken said it was close, but if it was close, why wouldn't you go with the younger guy that's got more upside at this point? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Still, I know you and I both wanted Shador, and hopefully he just keeps putting his head down and keeps working. And you know, we knew that there was some things in camp that he was struggling with, but Saturday against the Bills, it looked like he was taking a step forward in terms of operation of the offense, getting rid of the ball, not holding on to it, not taking sacks. I think that's one of the biggest things I've noticed in the preseason is, this was a guy a year ago that was holding the ball and he took a lot of sacks. And I think this year he's been better in terms of an operational standpoint. I know Todd Monken's offense is more difficult than Kevin Stefanski's. So I think Shador's made growth. Todd Monken has said so since the time he's gotten to Cleveland, obviously. So hopefully he just keeps working at it and keeps, continuing to work on what he needs to work on and just to be ready. Because I don't know if you feel this way, Anthony. I think the leash is very short for Deshaun Watson, and especially with week 3 being at home. My brother mentioned in the comments something it being worse than Bottlegate, which if you've never seen those videos and you're a Browns fan, you need to go watch that. And I compared it to, the booze for LeBron in 2010 when he came back with Miami is going to be 10 times worse at Huntington Bank Field. And I hope, Shador stays ready and just keeps working because he's going to get his chance this year. And I think he's going to see a lot of action still. And this is his time to prove to himself and to prove to others that he is an NFL quarterback. And whether it's here in Cleveland for the long term or if he's, auditioning for his next spot in 2027 and beyond, Shador's got the talent. He just needs to keep working on the behind the scenes stuff and, obviously like keep focusing and controlling what he can control. And I think he'll get his chance at some point early in the regular season.
There are two. You and I are both wrestling fans, and so I know you'll appreciate this. There are two instances that I can remember of wrestling crowds just absolutely drowning out entrance music with booze. One was John Cena's entrance against CM Punk in Chicago at Money in the Bank,
Yep.
and also John Cena's entrance at ECW One Night Stand against RVD. Like it is going to sound much worse than that if Deshaun is out there week 3. And I know they usually introduce the offense and the defense. They can't do
Not
it.
a
Like
chance.
they,
They're
they
not
have
going to
to
do
do
it.
the defense every time this year because you are not going to be able, if he's starting, you are not going to be able to introduce him out there. I mean, they might try to like sneak him in between the offensive line and the skill position players, but there is no chance that you would be able to sneak. Yes, that one too. Roman Reigns after being taken, that was pretty deadly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there are multiple instances of that in WWE, and that's what Cleveland Brown Stadium, Huntington Bank Field, is going to sound like if Watson is out there week 3 at home. But when it comes to Shador, like this kid, and I know everybody talks about who his family is and his upbringing and everything. This Shador is so polished when it comes to the media and how he talks to the media, how he handles himself. Like for somebody who gets so much attention, he handles himself so well, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about him is that he seems to say all the right things, handles himself accordingly, and he's just a professional. I know he had to learn it at a very young age because of who his dad is, and the big personality that his dad has. But the way that he's been able to handle everything over his time being a young quarterback in this league, even when he was in college, is very impressive to me. And that's something that doesn't get lost on NFL franchises either. Just the way that he's able to conduct himself.
Yeah, just hearing him Saturday after he was done, I think it was in the fourth quarter. Aditi Kinkabala was interviewing him. He was so polished. And then going up right after Deshaun had his press conference. And obviously, that was a roller coaster of emotions for um, not only Deshaun, but the media and everybody. But Shador held himself really well. He said that, he stuck up for Deshaun and saying, like, my teammate doesn't deserve to get booed. A lot of guys have done that for Deshaun over the years. And I mean, rightfully so. He's your teammate. He's your guy that you're, in the locker room with, in the position room with day in and day out. So you're going to stick up for that guy. But, Shador he's handled it so well. Obviously, a lot gets made of him because of, the fan base that he has and some of the critical things that they've said to media members and fans and whatnot on social media. And that's not Shador. Like, I don't think he should be judged because of what other people like in his fan base are saying to other people. But he's handled it really well. Like, obviously the stuff with Tony Grossi last year, he handled really well. But I just think he just needs to keep doing all the right things, continue to work. Like I said, he's going to get his opportunity to be a quarterback this year for the Cleveland Browns. And hopefully he makes the most of that opportunity, because I know he's got the talent and the skill set to be a quarterback. It's just the other fine little details, I think, that'll put him over the top. He's just going to keep working at it.
All right. So now that we've gotten through Shador, where do we feel this leaves Todd Monken? Because, Todd has been able to become a head coach for the first time in his long career, a head coach. So, we're thinking, he's going to try to put the best person out there who he believes can win football games in order to show that he's serious about winning, because this could be his one and only shot. Where do you think this leaves him in making this decision? Was it fully his decision? And, how do you think he's going to handle if he does have to, go from Watson to Shador to Dylan Gabriel at some point to Taylor Green, because that is our history. And all four of these quarterbacks are probably going to play at some point this year. What are your thoughts about how Monken has handled this whole thing so far?
Well, I thought he handled it well up until Saturday evening. And then I thought the way when Sunday rolled around and he had his press conference, and when he said that press conference didn't change anything, I was just like, he's really going to go with Deshaun. And like, I can understand to a point that Todd Monken, this is his one shot. He's going to go with the veteran that probably understands the offense better. I mean, there's been rumors out there and there's been articles written, one today by a Browns website. I'm sure the screenshot's been floated around because we've all seen it, but a lot's been said about what Shador's processing and understanding of things in the offense, and that's probably why he's not the starter. But I just everybody, and MC just said it, everyone's turned on Monken, and I'm one of those people. Like, I think he's on the hot seat. I think he's probably going to be a one and done coach, because he's not like and I said I understand that he's going with the veteran probably because he knows the offense better. I I just think it's a dumb decision on his part. I think him saying that it was close, you would think it's close. You're going to go with the young prospect with upside, and go through the bumps and bruises, and hopefully you keep working with him and develop him into a starting quarterback. And I just don't think Monken made the right choice here. And my brother said, he just mentioned in the comments, it's clearly a Jimmy decision. I really don't think it was. I know a lot of people are talking about the contract, and the Haslam still trying to get a return on that. I think it's a sunken cost at this point. Jimmy Haslam said what he said over a year ago about it being a swing and a miss, and I still think he probably believes that. I think he was trying to right the wrong there by saying like it was a swing and a miss and them trying to move forward. But obviously, I think this was a Monken decision, and I hope it doesn't bite him in the end. I really like Monken, but I do think we're heading down a road where he's a one and done head coach.
So, where do you think this would? So, say Shador does start at some point this season, whether it's week 3, week 6, week 9, week 12, whatever, and he comes in here and he looks very solid, and it's much better than the play that we were seeing from Deshaun Watson. Is it going to be a case of we should have been seeing Shador all along, or is it going to be a case of he's been working so hard in practice preparing, so when his number is eventually called, that he is ready to go? Is it going to be a negative on Monken if that happens, or is it going to be positive, a mix of both? How do you think that would play out?
How do I think it's going to play out? I think it'll play out where everybody's going to be like Watson or Shador should have been playing all along, and it's pretty much like to a degree what people were saying about him when he came in. Like Stefanski was like ridiculed for playing Gabriel first, but I think the way it was hyped up that Gabriel was, obviously processing the offense and having a better handling of the offense than Shador. And this will probably be the same case. Like if Watson comes out and plays poorly the first 2 weeks and they put Shador in for the home opener and he has a good game, people are going to be like, why didn't he start him all along? And obviously, one game won't really make a final decision. Like you got to see how the season progresses. And obviously, last year, like Shador had a couple good games, and then towards the end, like they were average to below average games for him. But you'd have to see it, like the full body of work, to ultimately make a determination of was it the right move to let him sit behind Watson for a few more weeks, or did the Browns make the wrong decision in the quarterback competition all along?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting thing to see what happens, because, like I said, our history shows we're going to see all of these guys. Um, it's an unfortunate thing. I'm not sure if one of these guys gets cut before roster cutdowns this Sunday. Whether that's Gabriel or Taylor Green. I'm not sure if they're keeping all four. If you cut Taylor Green, maybe you can get him onto their practice squad. I know there's a lot um, of athleticism there, and maybe that's something that would intrigue teams. So, very curious to see how many quarterbacks they do end up keeping. Yeah, I mean, with Monken, I thought I wanted Shador to start. Obviously, we've talked about this. The veteran being able to pick up the offense is probably very true. Him being able to pick it up more quickly, and it's something that he's had to do not only over his time here, but in Houston as well. He's had so many different head coaches, so many different offensive coordinators, to where it's just kind of how he's unfortunately had to be in the NFL. So, look, I don't want him to be out there too long. I would rather see Shador. And look, this could really throw into, because everybody's talking about the 2027 draft class and the quarterbacks that are out there. If Shador doesn't play until week 12 or 13 or 14, are you really going to be able to evaluate what you have at that point in the season if the Browns are out of it, and you have 3 wins on the year and you put Shador out there at that point? Probably not. So, if you want to really figure out who you have or what you have in a quarterback, that's going to have to be done at a much earlier time in the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, and if we're like 3-8, 3-9, like that scenario that you just said, if Shador's not out there by then, like I wonder what the heck happened. But yeah, I think you have to see Shador play at say at least 10 games this season to get a good evaluation, uh, to determine if he is your long term answer. And then I'm sure the Browns are still going to be scouting these quarterbacks no matter what, because you have to be thorough in your scouting and your evaluations of these quarterbacks. So I'm sure we'll get a good look at Sanders. if I had to predict now, I'd say Dylan Gabriel's not on this team because I don't think the Browns will afford letting Taylor Green go. I'm sure Thursday night will play into it, how he plays, despite not getting very many reps during training camps. A lot of it's been mental reps, obviously, and some one-on-one drills and everything. But we'll see. But I think, like you said, given the Browns' history, we'll probably see all these guys at one point this season. So, but you want to see at least Shador get at least half the season, maybe a few more starts than that, just to get a thorough evaluation.
All right.
This,
So moving.
this is a good
Oh,
question by Jeff, real quick. Go ahead, ask.
yeah. What happens if Watson does good and they come home 2-0? He's
I'm
still
like,
getting booed if you introduce the
yeah,
offense.
yeah,
There's no question. I mean, Deshaun Watson could go out there, be 17-0, win the Super Bowl, and I'm still not signing him next season. There's no chance.
yeah. And Todd doesn't bring a good point. Winning will make people forget a lot of things. But if Watson's not playing well still, but the Browns are winning in spite of him, does that really change things? It's yeah, it's he has to play well and for the Browns.
Really, Alex?
Good point by our draft guy, Alex.
Oh goodness.
Uh,
And then he also said this as well, and there could be a video popping up over the next couple of days having to do with the 2027 quarterback draft class. So I will just
yes.
tease that now, featuring the one and only Alex Hale. So excited to work on that project, and hopefully everybody will give that one a watch when it does come out. But moving past the quarterbacks here, there are some other things that we need to go over. First thing first, the Browns unfortunately did lose Alex Wright for this season. His Achilles injury in the joint practice with Buffalo placed him on an IR. They did sign veteran edge rusher Derek Barnett. What are your thoughts about them bringing in Barnett, who into an edge room where we already knew that that was a position that they were going to need to add to and bring in additional talent. But now you lost one of your key guys in that room, and you bring in this free agent. But now you still have that hole in that room to where they're going to be, looking for additional help.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Barnett would have been a guy that would have been a good rotational piece to add to the room had Alex Wright stayed healthy. He's still a nice rotational piece, but that room still needs some more moves. Obviously, you have Jared Verse. Isaiah McGuire is a guy I've liked since we drafted him. Loved what I saw in the pre-draft process for him coming out of Missouri. But they still need another body in there, whether that's Sam Kamara, whether that's Logan Fano, whether it's any of the other potential free agents they can get. I saw Hassan Reddick is generating interest around the league. So I'm curious to see if the Browns are still not done with that room. I would say they shouldn't be because, as we've always said on this show, you can never have enough pass rush help. So I like the Barnett signing. His numbers, he's had 5 sacks in each of the last 2 years with the Houston Texans. Obviously, he was in a talented defensive line room down in Houston, obviously backing up Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. So he did get a lot of, probably easy sacks because of the guys around him. But it's a guy that's been around the league a long time, been in winning environments, Philadelphia and Houston. So hopefully he can come in and help. The Browns signed him to $5.5 million. So hopefully he'll be a nice rotational piece for this defensive edge room that, still needs more help. And hopefully they can get some here as cut downs are coming this weekend.
Cornerback room is also going to be another place where they need some help. I'm not sure if you saw today, but Michael Coates left practice today with an apparent leg injury. No details yet that I've seen about it, but
Didn't
a
look
guy
good though.
who no, it did not look good. A guy who has played well this preseason, had an interception in the first game, and the cornerback room behind Denzel Ward, Campbell, is not great depth wise. So this definitely would be a blow to the Browns in that aspect. What are your thoughts about? Are we going to add a guy during roster cut down? A trade's going to happen? You know, how, as long as the plan doesn't include Trey Avery, I'll be okay.
So will Bill
What do you what?
Sparks.
What's your plan here for corner
Michael, like the Michael Coates injury was a crushing blow because we thought, that guy was going to make this roster. Like Jeff just said, he was having a great camp, making plays in the preseason. If I look at this corner room now, if I had to make a prediction on the room, it's Denzel and Campbell, obviously. Um, Probably Miles Harden, probably see, that's where it just gets tricky after that because they need help in that room. And it will not shock me if they've had two corners, maybe three corners during cut downs. And that includes maybe a surprise trade. I know any team that needs a wide receiver, I know a lot of Browns fans have been pegging like a Cedric Tillman trade. Houston obviously was one before they traded for Kashawn Booty from New England, but I could see the Browns adding more multiple bodies to that cornerback room because depth is so key. Given Denzel Ward's injury history and some of the injuries we've dealt with in camp, we had already lost Amari Mathis. We're losing probably Michael Coates for a significant amount of time here, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I feel like that's going to be one of the active rooms that gets a lot of shuffling done here over the next week.
Yeah, that's one of the rooms. Tight end as well is another one. I could see a couple offensive linemen, depending on cut downs as well. Um, Defensive tackle, edge for sure. What are
Yeah,
your thoughts about the rest of the roster here?
so we did get back Malik Collins this week. He was activated off the pup list, and if I had to like look at the D tackle room now that it's healthy, you're looking at Graham Collins, Mike Hall, and probably Aiden Huntington. Have not seen much of Kalia Davis during training camp, and that was surprising because he was one of the free agent moves that we made, bringing him over from San Francisco. Sam Kamara, you can throw to that mix, but I feel like the D tackle room is okay. Obviously, Mike Hall is kind of the wild card there because we saw him at edge this past weekend against Buffalo, and he had two pressures, including a sack. So that was encouraging to see that he might have that versatility. Um, but I feel like D tackle might be okay now that we're like healthy. And obviously, Collins is coming off that quad injury. So you kind of wonder how they're going to ease him back. And where does Huntington and Kamara and those guys play into it? So maybe they make a surprise move at D tackle. Saul Gervon Dexter from the Bears is out on the trade market. Barry likes to get young talent on affordable rookie contracts. Obviously, he's got an extension that could come because he's on the final year of of his rookie contract. So we'll see there. Tight end you mentioned, like yes, you got Whitehart and Carson Ryan, and obviously the Joe Royer situation is still one to watch because we have not seen him at all during training camp. But they could add a tight end there, and maybe they add a running back if they're not completely sold on Rocket Sanders or Amani Marshall as well.
Yeah, definitely some opportunity to add the Garrod Dexter is something that intrigues me. It's kind of funny that this news pops up because in my Madden franchise, he's somebody that I traded for, as the season started. So it's just kind of funny that this popped up that he's now potentially on the market. Obviously, the Steelers won't trade with us, but I saw that they're exploring Joey Porter, trading him. I would imagine if they do, an NFC team would make sense. They're not going to trade him to the AFC. So, maybe Detroit would be an interesting spot for him. I know they've been looking for additional corner help for a while. But yeah, I mean, roster cut downs are a fun time. Not fun for the players that are getting cut just because, you don't want to see people lose their jobs. But there's going to be a lot of player movement over the course of, this is 72 hours after the game on Thursday night. So very excited to see, what happens and, any trades that may happen. You may strike a deal with a team to swap players if they're interested in, if they were going to get cut anyway. So certainly, the likes of a Cedric Tillman, who we don't think is making this team, maybe you can get a corner that somebody else is going to cut and they'll, classify it as a trade to avoid both those guys going on the waiver wire. J-Bone, to answer about Coates. So he had a leg injury today in practice. Um, it did not look good from the video that was posted. So hopefully it's not too serious, but Judging by the video, it does look rather serious, unfortunately. And I would tend to think he'll miss some time. They may have to, waive him with the injury designation and, bring him back later on. But definitely a big blow to, what we thought he was. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he was going to, make his way onto the team. Um, and it sucks to see guys get injured, especially, it's kind of like Luke Floria last year, who, had a great training camp with the Browns and unfortunately got hurt towards the end of it. Ultimately, they waived him. This is kind of the same situation that coach is in now.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that he was, looking at making the team, much like Luke Floria a year ago, and then an injury happens that just derails your football dreams, and that's the sad part for some of these UDFA's. Like, you think they're going to make the team, and then something happens that just ruins everything. So, my heart goes out to Michael Coates. Hopefully, it's not a, significant injury like we're kind of speculating it is, but yeah, it's you feel for these guys that like they're on the cusp of making an NFL roster, and then something happens and it ruins everything potentially. So hopefully it's not a significant injury that he's not going to miss too much time for, but it did not look good to say the least.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Is there any other transactional piece of news that we missed injury wise? I know Isaiah Bond's been held out of practice the last couple of days. He did leave the game early on Saturday. Um, they cleared him of a concussion. He did not have one, but they've kept him out of practice these last couple of days. Is there anything else that we missed
No,
talking about?
no, just there was the Daquan Wright stuff, but obviously he cleared
Yeah,
waivers today and is heading to LSU. But it
for
looks like
now.
college football is cracking down on the rules. Shout out to the SEC and Big Ten for you know doing. I think that's a good thing that they did today. The SEC too, making it for both the NBA and the NFL, which I think is a step in the right direction. But yeah, that what a bizarre situation. Then you have Todd Monken and Lane Kiffin, you know, kind of like arguing how it all broke down, and like Lane Kiffin saying he's never talked to Todd Monken before, Todd Monken explaining his side of the story. Like, it's such a funny situation that's ongoing, but glad college football is trying to correct that rule, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. How a pro can go back to college and claim his eligibility again through the courts. I think it was a horrible decision, but I'm glad it's getting fixed.
I know it has to do with like the additional fifth year that they got from COVID time and how all these other players
Injuries.
have reacted. Yeah, all of that stuff. And it seems like they're going to be making it a blanket rule, which is a good thing. And I wanted to bring this comment up too about Luke Floria. Yeah, we both love Floria.
Mhm.
I think he's definitely making this team. As that fifth receiver, fifth or sixth guy. It was great that he was able to have a touchdown catch on Saturday from Shador, which was a great, and we talked about it on that show, but it was a great play from Shador. Great protection up front, was able to stand in the pocket, made a great throw to a wide open Floria in the back of the end zone. It just seems like all he does is make plays. The days I was at training camp as well, he was just making plays. So really excited to, see him make this team this year.
Yeah, I really hope he makes it. Like, you look at it from a roster standpoint, like Tylan Wallace is going to be your special teams guy, along with Casey Concepcion. Like, you have your downfield threats and Judy and uh, Denzel Boston, and I think Luke Flory is a good compliment. Like, he can get downfield, but like Jay Bone had said, he can be your slot receiver type, your Brian Brennan, your Wes Welker, Wayne Quebec. I think he does have a role in this team, especially when Deshaun gets out there. I think you probably see an uptick in playing time for Luke Floria when Shador gets out. Jay Bone, thanks for subscribing, man. We appreciate you. But yeah, I think like Floria and Sanders have that connection that reminded me of Baker and Higgins, where anytime Baker was out there, he was finding Higgins, and Higgins was open, and Higgins made plays. And I think Flory can be that guy as well. I don't know if he'll develop into a Wes Welker type. I think that's like the ceiling. But if he can turn into a nice slot receiver and provide excellent wide receiver depth, I think Flory can carve out a role in the NFL for sure.
It's funny you brought up Higgins, and it just kind of seems like how back in the day there was that camaraderie between Baker and Higgins. Like it seems like we have that now with Shador and Floria. Like those two, obviously with Shador being third string quarterback last year, second string quarterback this year. Like he's got to work a lot with the likes of Luke Floria, the likes of Gage Lavardane. Um, to be able to practice a lot with these guys and have those reps to get all the timing in and everything. They've built that relationship, and you can really see it. Those days I was out at practice, we saw it in the game this past Saturday. So it's great to see that. Hopefully that if Shador does come in, he's able to build that with Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion and Tylen Wallace. Who's definitely going to be out there, Isaiah Bond as well. He does have somewhat Bond because they were, working last year as well. So, but it's great to see, those sorts of connections build over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they walked into the facility together, Shador and Luke Floria, and obviously they got rookie mini camps and OTAs and last year's preseason to build that chemistry and trust. Yeah, I hope Floria makes this team. I think he can definitely carve out a role in that wide receiver room. Obviously, there's a ton of depth, and the floor has been raised in that position group, and that's something we've been wanting for a long time with the Cleveland Browns, but yeah, I think Floria makes it in as wide receiver 6 because no one else really in that battle has stood out for the most part throughout camp in the preseason.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if you would be able to answer that one better than I can. That last question down there.
Um,
Yeah.
I I'm not sure. I remember Caden Davis obviously because he stood out last year during the preseason. There's some people saying he has a legitimate shot. J Bone. I don't know if the Browns would pick him up because obviously the wide receiver depth is strong in with this team now. So um, he
Unlike
was
recent years, for sure.
yeah, like we don't have to go out searching in the waiver wire for wide receivers. So Caden Davis probably has a shot at making the Bears roster, but if not, maybe the Browns bring him back onto the practice squad, but don't see him making the roster or the Browns making a claim on him, at least for now.
Not to mention the Bears receiving group is very good. They have a very young and talented receiving group as well. If he could be the return specialist, that's great. I know we have a couple of return guys. My guy Cole Wilson finally got to touch the ball last Saturday, quite a
And he
bit
had some nice
in the
returns
return
too.
games. He did. So
I'm hoping
hopefully
he
they're
makes the
able to.
practice squad.
Yeah, I'm hoping to so as well. Is there anything else before we get on out of here?
Nick Chubb,
I,
because
I, I wanted,
we have not addressed
yeah,
this yet.
I want to do this briefly because I would like to also do a whole kind of video on him as well, just because I think it would be Todd. We'll see. I know it's also predicated on Barking Browns getting their subscribers too, so we'll see when it happens. But I mean, we have grown so much over the course of the last week, and we are so thankful for that. Uh, we've gotten close to 100 followers, 100 more followers in the last month, and just very thankful about everybody who has subscribed to us, who's watching us. The video post game on Saturday, really took off, and
Yeah.
very grateful of Jack and Jake who were able to jump in here and talk after that game. I'm glad I was able to join, towards the end there. Um, I think that we're just going to do it at some point, regardless of what, their subscriber counts hits, because I think that you guys deserve that for us, really growing and hitting our goals and just even hitting the next step on our journey as well. So stay tuned for that one. Jack and I will have to figure out when we're going to do that.
Yeah.
To talk about Nick Chubb, like I said, that is a video I want to do at some point to really like dive into the legacy. But he did announce his retirement in true Nick Chubb style. A late evening Instagram post saying that he's done. No pomp and circumstance at all with it, which is not who Nick Chubb is.
Nope.
I'm sure he may return to Cleveland at some point this season. Maybe hit the guitar again Thursday night against Pittsburgh would be great to get that crowd going. I would love for him to sign like a 1-day contract to like make things official
Yeah.
with his retirement for us. But obviously a player who truly embodied what it meant to be a Cleveland Brown, everything who you want a Browns player to be. It's a shame that there were the injuries, and we know a lot of people know what our thoughts are on him getting hurt against Pittsburgh and Minka Fitzpatrick and all that as well. And then the next year coming back from that and breaking his ankle, which is crazy because I think I got to see his last touchdown with the Browns because it was that night game against Pittsburgh in the snow.
Yep. I was
So
there too.
I was lucky to see that. I think I have it on video somewhere, and I might have to post that one. But um, it's a shame there were the injuries at the end. We know what the lifespan is on NFL running backs. I wish that he could have just been a Brown for life. Nobody's going to probably remember his 1 year in Houston, but they will always remember him for being a Cleveland Brown and being one hell of a football player in terms of running the ball.
Yeah, the end of his retirement letter was fitting because he put "Go Dogs" obviously for the Georgia Bulldogs and "Go Browns," and then he goes Batman out. And it was awesome to get to cover him eight out of his 9 years, obviously, of his career, and they were all with the Cleveland Browns. And he was my favorite Cleveland Brown to watch since '99. You rank Josh Cribbs up there, Joe Thomas, Josh Gordon, some of the all-time greats from the last quarter century that got to put on a Cleveland Browns uniform. And Nick Chubb defined the city of Cleveland with his toughness, with his hard nose, running style. We noticed it his rookie year, Anthony, when we did the podcast and talked about how his legs just kept churning when defenders would get on him. And some of his iconic runs, the one against Philadelphia, the COVID year, where he stiff armed a runner and went like 40 yards down the field to get down to like the 2 or 3 yard line. The one where he ran out of bounds to kill the clock or to finish the game and did it with respect, like to run up the score. I know fantasy football players were angry that day, and him stiff arming a Steelers Monday Night Football was legendary. And there's so many iconic runs. The 92 yarder his rookie year, and it was just he was that one. Obviously, a lot of us were focused on other running backs in that draft class when we drafted him, and then to know that like Jim Brown did some video scouting of him. He announced the pick. Like it was so cool to see. Like he was the closest thing we'll ever see to a Jim Brown in terms of that tough running style. And Chubb was great. Like you've seen some of the stats where it's him, Jim Brown, Barry Sanders that have done these things. And he obviously played in a generation where there were so many great running backs: Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. The list can go on and on. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, he always got overshadowed because he was in Cleveland. But we appreciated the greatness. Obviously, when he got hurt, it was a crushing blow. I remember, sitting on the couch in tears when he got hurt because I was like, this might be it. We might not see the greatness of Nick Chubb again. And it was such an honor and a privilege to get to watch him as a player because he was so great. He was so good to the city of Cleveland. It was a shame that last year had to be in Houston. But if I hope the Browns sign him to a 1-day contract so he can retire a Cleveland Brown because it would only be right. And I think it'll happen at some point. I think during the season. But it was an honor to watch him play, and that's all I got to say.
Yeah, definitely an honor. One of my favorites. The only Browns football I've known is what we've seen since 1999. I know you're the same way too.
Yep.
So definitely in my top Browns players, I put Joe Thomas in there, Josh Cribbs, Nick Chubb. I would have to think about the 4th spot for
Myles
sure.
Garrett.
Yeah,
Are we throwing strictly off? Now,
yeah,
Ronnie,
I guess
I have to
Miles.
ask: are you booing us or are you booing Deshaun Watson? That's the real question here. And Alex, I'm with you. I'm with you. I wanted Sony Michelle too, but hey,
And I wanted Travion Henderson over Quinshon Judkins, and we'll see how that one plays out for us too.
yeah,
So
we've all had our swings and misses for sure.
yeah, absolutely. All right, we are going to get. Oh, I did have one more point about Chubb, but his,
Yeah.
to the point of him being so good that John Dorsey had to trade away Carlos Hyde to get Nick Chubb playing time with Hugh Jackson out there. Fantastic. I was at a bar, a Browns backer bar in Seattle, his Oakland game rookie season, where he had those two touchdown runs, which unfortunately we did not win the game, but that's a defensive story for a different day. But that was just incredible to see that and witness that. The first time he touched that ball that game, it was like a 54-yard touchdown run somewhere in the lines. But yeah, I mean, honor and a privilege to be able to watch him, cover him, talk about him on this podcast. We were here the night he got drafted. We've been doing this for 10 years now, so we've seen a lot of that. And his whole career has fit into the span of our podcast. That's how long we've been doing this. So, like you said, though, honor and a privilege to watch him play. And if we are all done, Jack, we might as well get on out of here.
Yeah, let's get on out of here. Thanks to everybody that watched. I know we picked up a couple new subscribers tonight, so we appreciate you all. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And Anthony, tell them where they can find us.
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see on the screen, you can follow Jack over on Twitter/X at JackMcCurry08, at Anthony Jokey for me as well. The DawgLand, get all the updates, the notices of when we're going live. Can grab that on X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. All at the same handle, the DawgLand. With all that, we are going to get on out of here, and always remember the most important thing, and that is go Browns.
Go Browns.